Hello, family. One of the questions I get asked a lot in the comments section is, Vusi, how do I know if my business is scalable? Right? It's an interesting question, which I suppose you could, if you were to kind of frame it as a hypothesis, would be, are all businesses scalable? I don't know. It would be interesting to do an academic, rigorous body of work, actual thorough research to test and see what the outcomes and results would be. I'm inclined to say no. I don't think all businesses are scalable. I think some businesses are scalable and others are not. But I also think that different businesses have different rates of scale, and the potential for scale across different business models changes. So if you were to frame it that way and go, well, not all businesses are scalable, then what are the markings you would look for in whether or not the business you're in is scalable? I think the first is strong and sustainable demand. Strong and sustainable demand, right? Is there a strong and sustainable demand for the product or service that you offer? Now, what does strong mean? Strong mean, is it defendable against the variances and vagrances of the market? In other words, if the market is soft, do people still want to buy what you offer? And if the market is bullish, do people want to buy what you offer, and are they willing to pay for it? Right? Sustainable. Will it exist beyond the short-term period? And you can build an actual business model on top of that. There are some businesses that aren't, necessarily sustainable. I think, for instance, about, accountants. That's a strong, sustainable demand. People will always need accountants. They need financial statements, they need documentation for their bankers, for their lenders, for shareholders, for themselves to be able to run their own businesses. You can't run a business without financial insights, information, or data. So we know, therefore, that there is a sustainable demand for an accounting firm. Strong, I would imagine, depends on how you price yourself, when you price yourself in the marketplace, the services that you offer, the additional value services that you offer to your clients. That might speak to whether or not what you offer to your clients is strong. But I think the first for me is strong and sustainable demand. The second is an efficient business model. And so people often wonder, when we talk about an efficient business model, what does that even mean? For me, quite simply means, can you increase revenues without necessarily seeing an increase in operating costs? So can you drive up the incomes in your business while keeping the operating costs the same? Because that means then that there is an efficiency in your business model, and that the additional revenue that you earn, what we in management accounting would call marginal revenue, becomes marginal profit, right? Marginal revenue is the additional revenue for the one new unit of items sold. If that can be sold at $1 when the marginal cost is zero, then that means marginal revenue immediately goes down to marginal profit. So in my mind, one of the questions to ask yourself when you're scaling a business is, does the scaling of your revenues increase the scaling of your costs, right? Think of it this way. If I run a store that sells fashion items and the store does R1 million a month, for the South Africans, R1 million a month, for my international audience, say $80,000 a month. Could I get that store to $150,000 a month without increasing the operating costs? So my labor costs are the same, my rentals are the same, water, lights, and electricity are the same, but I double my revenues. The greater or less the extent to which the answer to that question is a yes, in my mind, indicates your ability to drive at an efficient business model. Third, is there potential to automate? I'm huge on this. I genuinely think scale-up business owners are sleeping on automation. Guys, automation is everything, right? Certain finger errors between migrating from one system to another system, human errors between inputting data on one platform and transporting that data to another platform. If you can automate plugins on moving information from your banking system to your accounting system, etc., you achieve massive efficiencies in your automation, right? I think, for instance, I was having a conversation this morning with our accountants, right? And they were saying to me that there's a plugin from our banking app that isn't connecting to our accounting software. And so they're asking me to go into the bank system, download bank statements for a certain period of time, and send it to them so that in a CSV format, so they can upload them onto the accounting system. Now, if you think about that, that's now an inefficiency. And of course, we'll fix the plugin. But the point is, when the plugin is running, think about it this way. We're using the business card here to buy something, say. The transaction gets logged into the bank account and immediately gets logged into the accounting system. And because in the accounting system, the accountants have written rules for how to treat those type of transactions, that journal immediately gets passed and it immediately shows up in the income statement. All of those are automations and efficiencies. So can you drive automations and efficiencies? Can you streamline your processes to pull up your automations and efficiencies? And then the fourth and final one for me is, can you have an adaptable infrastructure? I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about, can you have a truly adaptable infrastructure? A big part of how we are rebuilding ourselves in the business is we're going after hybrid and remote talent, because that gives us the ability to have an adaptable infrastructure of people. So can we plug in certain competencies when we need them and plug them out? Plug in product managers when we need them, plug them out. Plug in curriculum developers when we need them, plug them out. Plug in researchers when we need them, plug them out. Plug in analysts when we need them, plug them out. Plug in people to do a DD when we need them, plug them out, right? Can we have the ability to scale up or down our infrastructure requirements based on the needs of the business at that point in time? Scaling a business is not for everybody. There's some of us who just want a good life, a good business, good earnings, and the opportunity to send our kids to good school. And that's fine. But for those of us that do the work we do in the School of Scale, is about helping our clients understand what it takes to scale a business, and often also helping them understand that just because you're the founder doesn't mean you should be the CEO. That's probably the hardest learning I had to go through. Just because you're the founder doesn't mean you need to be the CEO. So think in your own mind there about what that means. For those of you watching this who are thinking about scaling your business, ask yourself, of these 4 kind of criteria that I've given you, which of those work for you in your business and in your space? And which have you started to implement? And how far are you on the journey? If you want any more information, by the way, check out schoolofscale.co. Cheers.